Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's Carm Capriotto from the Remarkable Results Radio podcast, and this is a Campfire Think Tank with Brian Gillis. Brian Gillis is with us from UNet Results, and he's the chief strategist there. Hey Brian, how are you, man?
I am doing fantastic. How are you today, Carm?
Good, good, good. You know, about every 3 weeks, we do this really cool campfire side chat that's on the camp Facebook page. But I also had the luxury today of broadcasting this on some of my other social media pages so that we can really get some penetration on this because it's such a great, great organization. The Coalition of Automotive Management Professionals, CAMP, the website's automotiveprofessionals.org. What everyone needs to know about camp, and this is really important, camp believes that you deserve to have a thriving shop and a thriving life. Now, our members, all coaches, work together to deliver helpful, relevant, and timely solutions to help shop owners reach their maximum potential. It's one heck of a mission and a belief that everyone should have financial freedom in this industry. As the coaches work so hard to help all the service professionals gain great traction and run a great business. So, Brian, how is business? What's going on out there? What do you hear?
Things have been good. We had we got some record numbers going for April, so it's been great. Looking to a lot of my shops out there are going to finish up really strong. So things are definitely looking up.
Great. Now, your company is UNet Results, and on the web at unetresults.com.
Yes, sir.
Nice website, a lot of good information there. Well, you had a chance to pick a topic today, and it is the importance of having a workflow process in place. I can't imagine, systems, processes, they win wars, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm a big believer. Every shop out there should have some type of a good workflow system in place, and so I'm sharing one today. It's called the board. So it's a workflow board, and it's what's great about it. It's a great solution if you don't have a solid workflow system in place. That's very inexpensive, very efficient, and it's easy to use. And so that's what's going to be my share today, and get a little bit into the board.
No problem. Well, we have that up. I think as I tease the audience that we're going to actually be able to show this, and you're going to walk us through it. And the floor is yours, my friend.
All right. So, obviously right off the get bat there, right in the middle, you see my logo, but that would be where the shop's logo would go, because this would be a digital. You'd receive something like this, or you can take it right to your printer, and you basically get a pad of these printed up. And so that's very inexpensive. And so we got several pads of paper with this similar descriptions on here. And so when you look across the top of this workflow board here, what you see in the top right over there is the technician rotation. And so it's right across the top is where you'd log in your technicians as they arrive to work, and just their first or last initials, and you put them across there. And then underneath where it says name, we've got our different pathways, and they coincide with different colors, because part of the process when you're utilizing the board is using your highlighters. Yeah, these highlighters here will help you as you go along and filling out the board. The one in the pink there, that's your oil change pathway. And then the green there is your broke car pathway. And then one of my favorites on the blue there is your return preventative maintenance inspection pathway. And then the dreaded one that we don't like to see is that customer perceived recheck pathway. And that's the orange highlighter. And as cars are coming in for the day, underneath individual technicians, each car gets assigned to a said technician. And so that's where we use that rotation there to keep up with which technicians have how many cars. And then as you see,
Brian, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. How many technicians have how many cars? Is it a check mark that goes in that box underneath the tech's name?
Just a hash mark, just
A
a
hash
hash
mark.
mark,
Okay.
and then
All right.
you 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 with the hash there,
Okay.
because they could get multiple cars. Yeah, so hash
Okay.
marks.
Makes
hmm
sense. Yeah.
hmm And then obviously underneath where the logo of the shop would be is where you put your date for that day's business.
Mm-hmm.
Above the logo would be where you're actually getting together as a team, the front counter team, and you're huddling up together and you're going over all the vehicles, all the customers that you have in so far.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're keeping up. And the way this particular board's designed is an hourly team huddle where we all get together and we discuss what's taking place and where each of the vehicles and what process of the visit that they're in right now.
And that's just used as a check mark to be sure that you actually get them meetings done.
Yeah. And so, in the real world, you want to try to do it every hour. Sometimes you get really busy and you can't, but you see that 10 o'clock box is still wide open. We don't like to have any what we call bullet holes or empty spots on the board. And so then you're going to make every effort you can to, all right, everybody, let's get together and huddle up and let's go over the board and share with each other. Because I don't believe that, oh, this is that guy's customer and this is my customer and so forth. They're all of our customers. And when everybody knows what's going on with every vehicle and where they are in their customer pathway, then things are just going to run so much smoother.
I can imagine if I was the owner and I was out for a half a day and I came back in and I wanted to look at the board and I didn't see any check marks for the first 4 hours of the day, I would say, what happened here?
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, you definitely hit on something there, is that it's not only is it a good workflow tool, but it's also becomes a great training tool. If you're gone for that half day or full day and you want to come back and see the level of focus the team had, this board will reveal that.
Well, cool. Hey, I just want to remind everyone, we are on some social media sites. Love to have you chime in. Any questions for Brian, please put them in the chat or the comment area. We can see that here in the studio. And please, Brian, I'm sure you'll answer any questions we get.
Absolutely. Yeah, love
Great.
to. And right underneath where you see run the board, obviously right there's it says goal. And that's going to be a dollar figure for that day's business of what your sales goal is that day. It's kind of like if you're playing football and, if there's no first down marker or better yet, a touchdown marker, it's hard to know if you're winning.
Yeah.
Are we going in the right direction? And so not a number you just pull out of the air. It's a number that's significant. Perhaps you have a monthly goal and this will coincide with that. And so that's where you're going to write down that number figure. And then the whole team is really focused on achieving that said goal for the day. So it's an important goal.
I do have a question on goals, but Sandy Weaver is asking, who is involved in the hourly meetings, Brian?
Excellent question. Typically, it's going to be the front counter staff, your service advisors, and if there's a manager up front. However, these boards, and here's a actual physical one, so you can kind of see the size of it.
Yeah.
They're portable, so you can take it, you can carry it outside. I've done it before, and you set it on a roll cart, and you can gather in some of the technicians as well. It's like, all right, guys, let's all sit down. Let's kind of go over the board together. And you set this board down, and then team can come around and we can go over it together, because sometimes getting that technician's input is critical on understanding how these cars are going to unfold, how we're going to complete these repairs and so forth.
I like what you just showed us. Could you hold that up again? It looks
Absolutely.
like it's a pad.
It looks like a pad.
Cardboard backing.
Here's another one. This is a little bit of a different size. You can see about how thick it is. Yeah. And that's what's great about it. It's inexpensive. And so, once you have a template, you just take it down to your printer. They'll print it, and you can make it unique to how you want it to be at your shop. Some shops don't, like this one, for example, they don't have colors. Now they might use the colors, but to save a little money, they didn't put it on their printout. They'll just use the highlighters.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Highlighters, right?
Highlighters. So
right there, highlighters.
Easy. Yeah, that's easy stuff. And, and so it's, and then of course you need your red Sharpie, your ink pen, highlighters, and a red Sharpie, and you're in business. Once you get these boards printed up.
Got it.
And you can make them. So on mine, You see it says board manager 1, 2, and 3. Could just
Yeah.
as easily say service advisor 1, 2, and 3. But again, this is a template and it can be adjusted to shop owners' liking. Um,
Can I stop you for a minute?
sure.
Let's before we jump into the board managers, the goal. Now, is the goal that we're looking, it's not a break-even number, it's a number that we have basically budgeted for sales of the month divided by so many days based on seasons and stuff. So this is a profit-making goal, right?
That's right. I mean, if you're going to set a monthly goal or you have a monthly budget, you have to attack that one day at a time. And sometimes you have to adjust. If yesterday was a very tough day and we didn't do very much, well, maybe we need our goal a little bit more today, and so that at the end of the month, you're hitting your big objective of your monthly goal.
Hey, Brian, have you ever sat down with a client and come up with a goal, but also you plug in the number? And if, like you say, if you were under the goal that you had set, then does it redirect a new goal for the day to try to make up the loss of sales?
Yes, yeah, you can every day. So because it's kind of a simple way of having your workflow system, you can change that goal each day. You can put it in the morning when you get ready to set your board in place. You look at your historic numbers that you have month to date, and that's going to let you know what we need to do to finish out the month to where so that the shop can make a profit and stay in
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we can adjust that goal as we go.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it won't be the same every day. And of course, for us on Saturdays, Saturday would be a very big high volume day. And so that may require a higher goal. So you look at some of your historic data as well.
Good. Explain one more time on the board manager 1, 2, and 3.
Sure. And so what that is that will be the front counter team that's handling those customers. And so it might be, if it was me and you, Carmen, it might just be me and you there that day. And so if I got to work first, then my name would go in number 1, your name would go in number 2, and it'd be listed on there. And so later on, as if we want to look at some historic data, if we want to go back a week and say, well, who worked last Tuesday? We can open it up. We can see who was running that front counter that day.
Got it.
And so if, you might have up to 3, and again, it's tailor made. So if you have 4 advisors, you want to put that on your board as well when you get them printed.
So basically what you're saying is that you can create this board any way you like.
Yes. For example, on this board, if you over to the right, a little bit lower, there's a section on there and it says PMI, which is a preventative maintenance inspection. If you're using DVI and you want digital video inspections, then you can simply have that made by your printer to say what you want. Yeah. Some shops do reward programs. You could have a box for that, so it depends on what's important and what you want to track and measure, right? Because all of this stuff is trackable. Underneath, where you see the service advisors or the managers, there's some phrases, right? And these are just reminders, things to keep in mind, things that are important to me when I was running, having a sense of urgency. Eyes on it simply means, that, the front counter folks are taking the time to actually go out and personally look at the vehicle. I mean, it's not because we don't trust our technicians or anything like that, but I mean, if someone tells you something and you're relaying it to a customer, it's not going to have the same impact or conviction and integrity than if you personally looked at it yourself. And so that's just a reminder. Same thing with the show and sell aspect, role playing before we present. And then over on the right, underneath the technician rotation box, there's a few more just little bullet points as reminders. Again, you can tailor make it to what's super important to you at your shop. But this is, hey, print the history, print your schedule maintenance, update your missed sales file in ECM, which stands for effect calls maintenance in my world. Effect calls maintenance, just a way I like a service advisor's thinking process to be is, what could cause this part to fail? What effect did it have on other parts? And what maintenance within this system could potentially be overdue?
I love it. You know what I like about the words and those phrases is that we can't be reminded enough about, because you know how crazy and busy life is, and the phones are ringing, you can't find the part, and the vendor's on the phone,
Hmm.
and the tech is calling you, and the customer is sitting there in an urgent position, and wow, every
Oh,
once in a while, just ah,
yeah,
sense of urgency, role play. I love it, and it
yeah.
just kind of gets me back to almost square one.
It does. So it's almost like you got these other processes and systems that can spiral right off of the board,
Cool.
you know? So as we look at this, the board here, Carm, going to the first box you see is a D and a W. And so that's the indicator. Is this customer a drop off or is it a waiter? And
Hmm.
simply just you simply write with a pencil, either D or W. And sometimes it can start off as a W, a waiter, and they end up taking a ride home. Just put a little hash mark to it and put a D out to the side. Now that car becomes a dropped off car. Then you see the next box over says manager. Could just as easy, like we said earlier, be service advisor. And you'll notice there's a line there. And that's because sometimes who takes in the vehicle isn't the one that actually is going to present that repair work. And so
Hmm.
sometimes it might be two managers or two service advisors.
Very smart.
Hmm. And then, there's also the potential that we might have to turn over a missed ticket to somebody else for a second swing. Of course, next to that's the customer name, Mr. Smith, your invoice number, the last 2 or 3 digits of that invoice number in your point of sale system. Here's one that's another measurable KPI, which is email address. Real simple. Did we collect it or did we not? It's a yes or a no. And again, Carmen, it just serves as a reminder for that service advisor because, like you said, so many things are going on. But if we're marketing or reaching out to our customers via email, we want a nice 70, 80% of our customers. We want those email addresses. And so that serves as a reminder.
Sure, absolutely.
Hmm. And then next to it, you see it says times touched. And as we go, the very first box on the top left is going to be where you're going to put what time that customer showed up. And then each subsequent time that we interact with that customer, whether they're waiting or it's a phone call, we fill in the box. By the end of the day, you'll probably have 5 or 6 time slots filled out or potentially 6. But that's very important because a lot of what we do is very time sensitive. You might be going over the board and go, oh my gosh, it's been 2 hours. I need to update Mr. Jones, right? We want to be proactive. We don't want to be reactive. Because then when Mr. Jones calls us to go, hey, what's going on with my pickup truck? It's never at that convenient time, right? You got 2 tickets to make estimates for. There's 2 customers at the counter. The other phone's ringing. Customers walking into the door, and a technician wants to show you something on a car.
Yeah.
And so it's way more efficient to be proactive than it is to have to be reactive. And
Yeah.
so when your level of focus goes up when you're utilizing the board like this.
Let me be not a naysayer, but be an
Mhm.
objective observer and say, "You're killing me. I can't believe it. I don't have time to fill this out."
Yeah.
And then I would almost have to think, Brian, and I'm gonna guess what your answer is, Carm, sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up.
That's agreed. And it might look like it's more work and time on the front side, but it saves you a tremendous amount of time on the back end. Just think about that customer that's calling for an update on their vehicle. For
Yeah.
one, one of the biggest, the 1-star review that none of us want is failure to communicate and keep our customers updated. It's way more time efficient to make that phone call when we're ready to make the phone call versus when all this other chaos may be going on around you and that customer may be on hold for 15 or 20 seconds before you can even get to them.
Yeah.
And it speeds up the processes to the point where you end up saving time. So it is an actual time saver. Yeah. On the front end, we got to put it on, but on the back end, we're saving a tremendous amount of time. And I can point that out to you, for example, if when you see over there where it says parts ordered and parts in, now
Mhm.
right now it's there's one hash mark there, but you can just as easily make 2 if you have 4 parts you need to order from 4 different vendors.
Mhm.
But allows us to make a note who do we order the part from? I ordered a part from company X, right? So you put a little check mark in there. When that part arrives, we check the on the opposite side where it says parts in. That part has arrived. But if you're going through the day and you're running the board, you realize, hey, that part we ordered from vendor X still hasn't showed up.
Yeah.
Let me phone those guys and find out what's going on. It should have been here by now. So you just saved yourself some time because you're recognizing, hey, I ordered this part at noon. It's 2:00. It should have been here by now. Let's phone our vendor and find out where this part is.
Brian, how many clients of yours have this in a digital format on the big screen?
Well, what they do is I'll send it to them as a template. I have there's a couple companies that'll make the actual boards to your liking, but I'll usually send them a digital template, just like I sent you, Carm, that you're showing there, and then they'll run out and have theirs made by their printer. And so it's actually it's going to be in this paper form.
And how many SMS systems have you found that have this built in?
None of them can really do what this actually does. Now, there's some good systems out there, but there's so much value to this board that I say use it hand in hand with your point of sale system. They can work together. If you're just kind of relying on one, it's hard, especially when you want to look at any kind of historical data. If I want to go back and look at a board and so, one thing I'll share with you is, we take these boards at the end of the day, and, again, here's what one single sheet looks like. But, all your invoices at the end of the day goes right into one of these boards, and then you just fold it in half. Then you take that board and you can slide it right on into one of those yellow envelopes.
Yeah.
To house it, and you can write the date of that day's business on there. 2 weeks later, I can go back and I can look at this board and I can measure things like what our email collection percentage was. Of the tickets, how many of these cars did we do a maintenance inspection on? What's our total dollar in sales? If you'll scroll all the way down to the bottom of the board.
Sure, let me do that.
There's a tab there. It says ISO total and PMI total. Okay. So the ISO is, what the customer kind of brought it in for. Maybe it's an oil change. Maybe it's, hey, my brakes are squeaking. You sell a $250 brake job. That's your isolation total. The PMI box is your PMI, your maintenance inspection, or maybe yours will be DVI. Mm-hmm. And customer wasn't aware that they're past due for their timing belt and water pump, but we sold that. We made them aware. We educate them. They authorize it. Those dollars go into the PMI box. So at the end of the day, you can tally your total isolate dollars versus PMI dollars. And I call it kind of the difference between being an order taker and a difference maker. And you want your PMI total to exceed that of the isolation total. Yeah. So it creates an emphasis and a focus on the preventative maintenance inspections as well.
I love the concept that you just described. We put all this in an envelope and we can pull it back. And as the CEO, the leader of the company, you can find some quiet time, your 1 or 2 hours a week to open up your documents, no matter if it's computerized data or if it's handwritten data, and research it.
That's right.
And, Brian, a lot of times that common sense, it leaps off the page.
It's right there.
And it talks to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I train the shop owners how they do what I call they audit the bag and the board, where what to go in, what to look for, how to measure. And measuring is very important. If you want to lose 10 pounds or gain 10 pounds, the first step you have to do is get on the scales and see where you're at. And so one of these boards can tell you, hey, you know what? We're only PMIing 50% of our cars. Well, we really want it to be 100%. How are we going to get there? Well, let's start auditing these bags together as a team and teaching everybody. So when you start to see it, we can enjoy some successes on our way up. Hey, great job today. We had 70% of the cars we did maintenance inspections. Great job. We're up to 80%. And the same thing can be on your email address collections, or if you're doing a reward program and you're tracking that, you can track your success as you go.
You can see how long it's taken parts to come in.
Yes, you can measure time with your vendors on part arrivals. What I like to measure too, we know that customers kind of have a buying mood when they're coming in for an oil change and they're waiting. So that's going to be indicated. It's a waiter because it's indicated on the board. It's an oil change because you got the service filled out, and of course it's going to be one of your pink cars. And I can go through and I can take every single pink waiter and measure my touch time. For us, we had a goal that we wanted to engage that waiting customer within the first 10 minutes. 20, 30 minutes in, they're ready to go. It's time's up, right? No matter how nice your waiting lounge is, the customers had enough and it's time to go on to the next deal. And so we want to try to accomplish a 10-minute, completely measurable. And by doing this exercise after the fact, looking at a previous day's business, we go, oh, you know what? We had a 16-minute average touch time for all of our oil change waiters. Everybody, we'd like to get that down to 10 minutes. Yeah. So let's see what we can do tomorrow to improve on that. And as you measure it, hey, good job. We're down to 14 minutes. Great. We're at 11 minutes now. Fantastic. Wow. We hit our goal.
The thing I love is if you get that 1 or 2 star review and they say they didn't communicate with me. Well, you open up the bag, right? And and you come down and you find that customer and you say, they're right.
Yeah.
We failed.
That's right. And, a lot of folks are very, very dialed in and drilled in on their technician productivity, right? And I get it, but those guys and gals that are working on cars back there, they need our help. How long is it taking us to put together estimates and present them and sell them? How long is it taking for the parts to arrive? Are we dispatching tickets that make sense to the technician? When you're dispatching these tickets, what is kind of, who's got the big workload right now, and at what skill level? So when we assign these tickets, we're tracking it. And that on the very far right, we actually indicate how many hours on this particular board the technician has on each of these jobs. So you can see technician hours right there. And technicians love that fact that, we care, we're tracking how many hours are sold, but also from a productivity standpoint, if this guy's got 30 hours sold, maybe it's time to talk to him, go, hey, you know what? We're going to start letting these other technicians get caught up and thus provide a faster service for the rest of our customers.
Well, let's finish this, the Key Tech full system isolate. And
sure.
Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So the vehicle, that's just going to be, the year and the model. Yeah. The services, what the customer originally brought it in, whether it be oil change or, replace my timing belt. Of course, parts ordered and parts in. The keys, some shops use key tags, right? Because there's really nothing more embarrassing than doing the old pat down of your pockets when that customer's there to pick up, right? That's the worst. And so this is just another way to keep up with the key. So we know that, hey, we assign Mr. Jones to key tag number 8. So when Mr. Jones comes to pick up, we go right to it. We know that's his key, and here's your key. The technician, that coincides with the box up at the top. So when we put that hash mark on their car to say, hey, this Joe got a broke car, and we hash mark there. In the box below, we also put a J for Joe where it says tech. So by simply looking at that, we know that ticket went to Joe. And then, of course, if it's a broke car, we're going to highlight it from where it says techs all the way to tech hour with the green highlighter. We're going to highlight it.
I can see value there where if you've got multiple people on your counter and the phone rings and Mrs. Smith says, hey, any idea if the car's going to be done on time? Well, we don't have, and the other person's on the call or with a customer, you can quickly look at the board and see who to go to.
That's it. Plus, if we're huddling up, that's going to eliminate. You talk about how this could cost more time versus saving time. If you're huddling up every hour, we're doing the best we can to get together with the whole team, and we go over every car. If it's me and you at the counter, Carm, and you're on another line with a customer, and that customer calls, I don't have to put them on hold. I don't have to, ask for their number so they can get called back. I know the answer. I can just give them the answer. Hey, you know what? All the parts have arrived on your vehicle, right? All your parts are here. Matt is working away at getting your job completed. Once it's completed, we'll give you, and the vehicle's test driven, I'll give you a call and we can come get you picked up. And then I'm going to fill in that time box when I had that engagement with that customer. So now everybody else that may look at the board also knows.
I love
Good
it.
stuff.
Makes so much sense, man. Common sense. Sometimes we lack common sense, but so we have to write it down.
That's it. And like you said, the next box next to it is full system isolate, and then you see the box next to it, which is the PMI. Separate those things so that we can, see how well are we doing on, the maintenance, selling, and the PMI stuff. It's not really super difficult. Customer comes in, they're leaking fluid in their driveway. They hand you their keys and say, "Hey, I'm leaking fluid. Can you look at it?" And then they leave and drive off your property. And you can't really get your chest too puffed out because you sold this leak repair. The real thing is, what are we going to be able to capture in that PMI box? Something that the customer's vehicle's in need of, but they weren't aware of it. We had to explain it to them, educate them. It's part of maybe they're overdue for spark plugs and they didn't know it. Yeah. And so we've got that there to separate the total dollar amount of the invoice to how much of it's what they come in for, how much of it is maintenance.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Makes so much sense. Nice form.
And then there's a few other things that we do. It's hard to demonstrate on this, so I've got this here, Carm. It's just a little part of a board.
Here, let me zoom in on your specific picture here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is just a couple cars. Of course, you'd have many, many more. Put this up here. And one of the things we use the red Sharpie for is once the ticket's completely documented and all the parts are in correctly, and you've got the stories being told, hey, this is what the car came in for. This is what the technician found. This is what we recommended. And this is what's approved. Yeah. Once it's completely documented, you put a little check mark right in the time box, right? That indicates to anybody looking at this that ticket is completely documented. Once the ticket's been completed by the technician, the test drive has occurred, and they bring you back the keys and say, hey, this one's ready. Then we're going to put a check mark right in where the customer's name is, just like so. So you got a check mark in the customer's name as well. Now we know that job has been completely documented. It's billed, and we know that it's completely finished by the technician. Then we need to contact the customer and let them know it's ready. That's what the C is right there. They've been called, right? We know that car is done. It's billed. It's called. Then when that car leaves your parking lot, you just draw a red line all the way through it. And the ones that didn't go that day get transferred over to the next day's board.
Ah, very good.
Mm-hmm. So even at a glance. And so, excellent tool. I lived on one of these. It was immensely helpful for me, especially once I first got started. When I first started in the industry, being able to utilize a tool like this is something similar. And it just helps everybody understand. If you're not sure what you're supposed to do right now, just go look at the board. It helps everybody be really clear on that key-to-key process and what we need to do. And then you can actually build other processes around it. When you stop and think about it, do we handle a recheck the same way that we do a return maintenance inspection? We don't. They go, once we get the ticket, the information, they may go in different directions. Recheck should be your shop's first priority to get it addressed and handled. And so it's easy to it's easy to do that when you have this method in place.
Wow. Is it possible that some kind of picture of this could be on the camp website? How could someone contact you to get some information on this?
Sure, absolutely. They could email me at brian.gillis@unetresults.com. I'm happy to put it on the camp website as well. So that's a couple of different ways that they could reach out. And I'm happily to give them the template, and then they can run out to their printer, or if they prefer to have them delivered in a box already printed, I know of a couple of companies that will be happy to print those and get them to you.
So there it is, Brian.Gillis at unetresults.com. Thanks for doing that, Trace. Very good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. And anyone can get a hold of you and say, help.
absolutely. Yeah, and I'd be happy to. I mean, having a good processes and systems in place, I get it, and I do get that at the beginning from shop owners. Like, man, this seems like it's work. Well, it is, but it's going to save you so much, and it ups your level of focus to the point to where you're focused on that goal. You got all the things that you need to help these technicians stay productive. We're on top of when the parts show up. We're collecting these email addresses. We're focused on the PMI, and we're dispatching tickets to the proper technician, so that we can be as efficient as we possibly can.
Wow, what a great segment here. I appreciate this, Brian. I learned a lot. I'm sure many in the industry have. People can watch this over again. We'll have this video on the camp website.
Yes.
This is going to be a classic episode if you really want to get really good. The website's automotiveprofessionals.org, the camp website. Brian Gillis, Chief UNET Results Strategist from unetresults.com. Thank you so much for this. It was wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to share and hope it helps a lot of shops out there get better, keep getting better.
Thank you, man.
All right.